All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be explaining to you to be turbocharged or not to be turbocharged. Now, in this video, we're going to cover three main discussions. One, why most manufacturers are starting to implement turbochargers. Two, what is the purpose of a turbocharger? And three, what are the benefits and drawbacks of using a turbocharger? All right, let's break it down. So if you haven't noticed already, there are a lot of manufacturers now moving to turbochargers. And a lot of people really are like, wow, this is such a benefit. And why you may say it's a benefit is because all of those speedy Japanese cars used to throw on turbos back then, which made them ridiculously fast. Now, if you haven't noticed, the EPA, which stands for the Environmental Protection Agency, has now implemented stricter emission standards in the car manufacturer market. That's why you see most of these manufacturers moving to these electric vehicles. And you also know that the ICE ban is coming up in 2035. That is also due to the strict EPA standards that the US government follows in the United States. So instead of making big V8s or big V6s to draw a huge amount of power, naturally aspirated, now they're switching to turbocharged 4-cylinders or turbo V6s that will end up getting better emission standards than those naturally aspirated V8 and naturally aspirated V6 counterparts. This brings each manufacturer like Nissan, Toyota, Honda, all of their emission standards down. So all of the cars that each manufacturer makes has an average put into all of what their vehicles get in their combined MPG. So that would be a standard rating for the MPG rating from the EPA. And therefore, if they are over a certain parameter, they end up getting charged for every unit they sell by the United States government, or EPA, whatever you would like to call it. So what the purpose of a turbocharger is really it uses exhaust gases that end up spinning the turbine and forces more air inside the engine, compared to a supercharger, which is a parasitic kind of expel of power. It drives off more belts, which draw engine power, which is why AKA it's called parasitic to the engine, because it is using that power drawn from the engine in order to use forced induction to make more power. That's why a supercharger is considered parasitic. And that is why you don't see superchargers being the new main conductor of things inside the car market, is because it draws off engine power, which reduces the MPG rating. So with turbochargers, they expand with the exhaust gas, forcing more air inside the engine, therefore making you more power, which is why most today's turbo 4-cylinders can reach the power of a naturally aspirated V6, since it is using a process of forced induction, which is a way to increase power in the engine. Now let's discuss the pros and cons of having a turbocharger. So the pros of having a turbo on your engine pretty much is forcing more air inside your engine, which therefore makes more power without needing a bigger size engine like a V6 or a V8. Just like I was explaining earlier in the video, a lot of these manufacturers are getting power of a V6 with the turbo 4-cylinder engine, which is very impressive. And if you've seen Nissan's new VC turbo engine, it uses a variable compression turbo engine, which is the first variable compression engine in the entire world to be mass produced. The VC turbo engine is a 3-cylinder engine that gets 201 horsepower and 225 pound-feet of torque. That is the power of a V6 back in the 1990s, and that is just purely impressive, while also achieving an amazing average of 33 miles a gallon with a front-wheel drive unit and 31 miles a gallon with an all-wheel drive unit combined. So you would say, oh my gosh, the turbo is the best thing that's ever happened in the car market. Well, let's not jump on that bandwagon too quick. See, the cons of a turbocharger is there tends to be a more forced induction inside of the cylinder, which you may not know what that means, but let me explain it to you. Pretty much you are forcing more air inside the engine than what would be naturally given by the engine that sucks in air. So pretty much you're forcing more air on top of the naturally aspirated air that's just going inside the engine. Now what that does is that puts more pressure on your piston rings, that puts more pressure inside your engine, that also increases the overall wear inside your engine, which therefore will make it AKA burn oil faster, wear out faster, start to have major costly repairs earlier, it really is not a very healthy way of making more power in the engine. Now, what manufacturers do to combat that is they end up beefing up the internals, but they don't do it that much. So they may think and make you believe that they put more beefed up internals inside the engine, but when you actually tear them down, when they get some age, they actually tend to wear out a lot quicker than naturally aspirated engines. They're not built up to the same spec of what that pressure inside the engine can handle. And if you hear a lot of mechanics saying, wow, you know, the old days were so much better, and back in my day, they were just built so much better. They have some truth to that, but the engineering and massive amounts of money they've poured into designing these engines and getting more immense power. Like back then in the 1970s, they would dream of getting that power of that Nissan VC turbo engine in just a standard V8. That is how far we've gone with engineering. But with every pro, there has to be a con on the side. So this is just what you expect. You therefore get more power, get better fuel economy, but you also risk of wearing out your engine earlier. And that is something that we do have to be aware of, considering the new average price of a new car is now $55,000. These things are not getting cheaper, they are getting more expensive. So it is really important that you maintain your engine. Now, some ways you can protect your turbocharged engine is use that OW16 oil that is prescribed for turbocharged engines. Now, make sure before you do that, that your engine is compatible with that weight oil. But in that same sense, there are new oils nowadays meant to protect the turbochargers and meant to slow down that mechanical wear of having those turbocharged variant engines. So manufacturers are not trying to leave you in the dust when it comes to all of this more mechanical wear. They're trying to help, but they're also getting really squeezed by the EPA in order to get some crazy standards out of these MPG emission standards. So within discussing that today, I just wanted to let you know I am neither for or against turbochargers. My personal opinion with my 370Z, I'm leaving it naturally aspirated, just for the fact that it will last longer, it'll mechanically hold over time, and I'm not forcing anything that the engineers did not design it for. And as a mechanically inclined person, that is something that I value. I want my car to last as long as possible, and I want it to be as healthy as possible. And as a sport engine, a lot of people rip and tear them apart. But for mine, I want to take care of it. I want it to last, just as you should as well, because these new cars are getting more expensive and they take so much more precautionary measures and more maintenance plans that you have to do. Like I just did a video the other day, how you got to check the transmission fluid in a 2014 Volkswagen Passat because they're moving to sealed transmissions. And you have to take the tire off, get to the brakes, take that off, and then get to the transmission. So today, I'm just gonna leave you out with more information than what you had before in this video, and I want you to make an educated decision on what you want in your car engine. Make sure when you're picking out your car, whenever you go into these dealerships, make sure you keep asking them, is it turbocharged? Is it naturally aspirated? Does it have a supercharger? Is it GDI? Is it PFI? Whatever it would be, just make sure you ask the questions. Make sure you know what you're getting. That is a huge financial investment you are getting. So just make sure it's what you want and it's what will last. So I hope you have enjoyed the video, guys. I hope you know just a little bit more than what you first came in here about turbochargers. And I hope that you make your educated decision on what you buy and what you invest your money. So if you like the content that we talked about today, please click that like button down below. And if you like the content that we cover on this channel, please hit subscribe. It helps us out more than you'll ever know. And if there's any questions you have, please post them in the comment section and I will give the best answer that I have up to my knowledge to this current date. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys have an amazing day and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.